Well, welcome back to another week of the WR podcast. Will and Reed talk D3 baseball, the podcast with no name, the NPI roundup. Who knows what it's called? But I'm Reed Rosales, joined by Will Miner of D3 Region 10 baseball. And first of all, I want to give a shout out to the University of Chicago, who has become our first ticket puncher for the NCAA tournament. They won today against NYU to complete a four-game sweep to clinch the UAA title. And one thing that is special about the UAA, Will, I'm sure you know, is that they don't play a conference tournament, so the season's over for them. They're just going to be waiting. They still have a couple games that on their schedule to play. Like they have a series against Wheaton, which is kind of funny. You've already got the auto bid, but you're still playing games before the
Yeah.
NCAA tournament. But shout
It,
outs to you, Chicago.
yeah, it's always interesting to see schools do that. Let's say my junior year and my senior year at Willamette, we had that where the NCAA or NWC tournament happened, and then the next week the teams in the conference did a round robin, because the NWC at that time played their tournament a week earlier, just so teams could stay fresh. Whoever won it could stay fresh, and it's always interesting to see because it's like realistically, it should be every team plays their conference tournament. Next week is regionals and supers, but I know every conference is a little different.
So just a couple of things I noticed throughout this week before we get into some of these conference tourney previews, because we do have we're getting into conference tournament season, and that's exciting. One thing that I noticed is Lynchburg's ridiculous win streak finally got snapped by Shenandoah. You know, if you're going to lose to a team, might as well be a team that's arguably top 10, maybe even top five in the country right now.
100%.
But their win streak finally got snapped. Lynchburg still overwhelmingly dominated the ODAC this year. But yeah, that was I'm not gonna say it was surprising because Shenandoah was good, but it's one of those things where it's like you don't really expect them to lose until they actually do.
Exactly. It's kind of like Denison, right? Like if Denison drops a game right now or UW Whitewater, you're like, okay, cool. They lost one game. They won 20 something plus in a row. So there's no like red flags. Plus, like you said, Reed, top 10, top five team in the nation right there. They lost to. And then they 10 run them the next game, if I remember right. So,
Yeah, they came back with a vengeance. It was not very pretty. But well, how about in Region 10? Was there any big exciting news?
I mean, TLU clinched the one seed of the SCAC. That's probably like the biggest news. I mean, actually, Hardin Simmons won 3 of 4 versus Mary Hardin Baylor to clinch the number 2 seed for the ASC. So I brought it up earlier in the year that Hardin Simmons, their offense could be really nasty come conference tournament time and still bid. So I'm interested to see what happens with that tournament because there's some really good pitchers in that conference and a lot of really good hitters that can make it interesting.
All right. I guess just to start off, I'm going to start off with the USA South because this is the both the
Mm-hmm.
simplest this is the simplest implications, the most difficult to explain on how their format goes for a conference tournament. So the USA South, they're a one bid conference. They're not a bid stealer. All the NPI of the conference is very low comparatively to the other conferences we're going to be talking about. So whoever wins this is going to be the only team from the USA South to get in. So six teams get in, Will. The teams right now are Greensboro, Pfeiffer, Methodist, NC Wesleyan, William Peace, and Southern Virginia. But the format, I'm gonna try not to laugh while I explain this because this is the most convoluted format I've ever seen. So it's two pods. Round one is two pods of three teams. Already, I'm like, what? Why are we? Why?
Okay.
And it's not. It's three-team Swiss format double elimination.
Okay.
So the 4 and 5 seed will play game one, and then the loser of that game will play the 1 seed of the pod. So
Okay.
immediately they can be on the chopping block and lose and just be eliminated. And then it
Yeah.
essentially turns into a best 2 out of 3 against the team that won that game. But if they win, then everything gets completely messed up. If you don't know what a Swiss format is for any viewers at home, the idea is a like like records will play each other. So and
Hmm.
you don't usually do this with an automatic odd amount of teams because it's really weird. But so let's say we have four teams. The two 1-0 teams would play, the two 0-1 teams would play, the two 1-1
Yep.
teams would play. It's like a normal WM, but they wanted to be fancy, I guess. So your
Okay.
pods for USA South would be Greensboro, NC Wesleyan, William Peace, and then Pfeiffer Methodist, Southern Virginia, hosted by Greensboro and Pfeiffer. And then whoever comes out of that plays the best 2 out of 3 series for the championship.
That's an interesting format for sure. And this is all done in a weekend?
I believe it's 2 weeks. Here, I can actually
Two
pull up.
weekends?
I believe I
So it
can
does
just
the
pull.
Swiss pods, and then the next weekend is
Yes, your championship series.
okay.
So yeah, it's interesting. But for the teams on the field, really, this is a conference where if you have one good pitcher, you're in some good hands. But because this is a conference that hits kind
Yep.
of everybody. I would say that the top three of the conference, Greensboro, Pfeiffer, and Methodist, are pretty significantly better than the bottom three teams.
Yeah.
So Greensboro, who gets NC Wesleyan and William Peace, I believe, should
Hmm.
be fine in their little
Yeah.
pod because they're really, really good. Trevor Testerman has hit 16 bombs this year. He's got an OPS of 1600, which is
Yeah.
completely ridiculous. And he's also stolen 25 bases this year, so he can do
Dude.
pretty much anything that
Yeah.
Greensboro needs.
Side tangent. I saw Southern Virginia and started laughing because I want to say in 2021, Southern Virginia's only win was against Salisbury. And it was like a 20 something inning game, and it was their only win of the season. And Salisbury ended up winning the Natty. So that's why I was laughing a little bit when we saw Southern Virginia, because I just like pictured that, because that was like the other school that I like was looking at going at, was just going across the country to there. And it cracks me every time I see them. I can't think of a more random solo win season than that.
And when I say good pitching is a little more difficult to come by, there are four pitchers in the conference with an ERA below 5.
Oh wow.
So four starting pitchers. So NC Wesleyan has the best pitcher in the conference, Colby Lewis. He's got a 2.94 ERA, which is very good considering the team. So
Hmm.
like it hurts me when I see a like that's a decent ERA. That's a good ERA.
Yeah.
And then his record is 3-8. That makes me sad inside coming from a family of pitchers in baseball generally.
Yep.
So that just makes me sad. But in terms of hitting, it has been Greensboro kind of dominating everything. Funnily
Hmm.
enough, the second best hitting team, Brevard, didn't make the tournament, so they don't have to worry about them. So Greensboro, they're an interesting team because they did beat W&L, Washington and Lee, in a series to
Yeah.
start the year, and they've also taken a game off of Roanoke. But then against they beat Adrian, which Adrian, good team this year. They have a win against Adrian, but they also got beat 14-1 by Maryville and 15 to
Hmm.
4 by Lynchburg. But in terms of the conference opponents, they have beaten Pfeiffer and they have beaten Methodist, who are I would say, the two other contenders, which is why I'm leaning more to say that it's going to be pretty chalky no matter
Yeah.
who comes out of it. I would say it's difficult because they beat both of them in very similar fashions. I would say you'd rather Methodist maybe over Pfeiffer because Methodist has the harder path and
Yeah.
Greensboro beat them a bit more convincingly. I mean, when one of those games they won 22-3,
Dang.
which is but also they beat Pfeiffer 23-8 in one of those games too.
You're saying Greensboro won 23-8 and 23-3 against the number two and number three teams in the conference.
Yeah, in single games. They didn't sweep those series. Those are just
Hmm.
one-off games, which is,
Yeah.
lovely thing about baseball, right? You can win a game
Yep.
23-8 and not sweep the series.
That's true. Huh. Yeah, this will be an interesting one. Obviously, it's a solo big conference, nothing crazy, but I'll probably now that I know their conference tournament is insanely complicated, watch it this weekend. I'm traveling for a wedding, so I'm gonna see Rhodes play.
Oh, nice.
Um, and so I'll probably be sitting there watching college baseball at a college baseball game, and some parents can get mad at me. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna tune into this one just to like actually understand how this format works because it's so unique.
That's the classic watching baseball at a baseball game. I've definitely done that
Yep.
before. And just as we're talking, NC Wesleyan just beat Methodist. This had some standings implications because now Pfeiffer will
Yep.
be hosting. Beat them 10-0, run ruled
Hmm.
them. So NC Wesleyan could be sleeper, a little bit of a
Yeah.
sleeper, but that's can they save, their ace for the game against the
Yep.
top seed is kind of the big question. That's what we'll talk about probably for a lot of these conference tournaments. It's like you don't want to pitch your ace immediately when you have the number one team on a bye.
Yep.
But also it's unique because if they win that game, they actually don't have to play the top team the next
Yeah.
game. The
They
top team
have
has to play the loser.
the loser, and then the next team, then the winners play for the round in. Huh.
Yeah, that's the USA South just at a glance. Just yeah, the top three teams I think have the best chance. Greensboro should have this, but conference tournament season's chaotic. But no matter
Yep.
who comes out of this, there's going to be no bid stealers out of this conference.
Yep.
But to a much more simple format, Will, I'll pass it over to you
Yes.
to talk about the ASC.
Yeah. The ASC, very simple. There's only four teams in this conference right now, so makes it super easy. Um, it's going to be hosted at ETBU. They went 12-0 in conference. Like I kind of teased earlier, Hardin Simmons ended up 7-5 in conference. Mary Hardin went 5-7. And Howard Payne 0-12 in conference. That's a tough one to swallow, but hopefully next year when the conference gets a little bit bigger, you're not just playing 4 game sets and we see a little bit more diversity. But I teased it earlier. Obviously, ETBU is the favorite. They're pretty high up there in MPI as well. So it's not like necessary. Ideally, they're gonna want to win. Let's just say that. But when you're looking at like Hardin Simmons, for example, their team is hitting the ball like no other.
Well, I see what you're talking about, though. They've got three guys
Yeah,
with over 1,000 OPS.
yeah. I mean, their whole lineup has just been producing top to bottom. And that's going to make a very interesting conference tournament when they are going to be playing Mary Hardin Baylor that they just won 3 of 4 against in the first round. And then I'd be shocked if they're not, if ETBU doesn't win against Howard Payne, but we've seen crazier things happen. But I mean, Riddling's hitting 424, Burning's hitting 418, Cavallaro is hitting 378. I mean, their team average is 347, which is pretty ridiculous. The one thing that they're going to have to step up is pitching wise. They're pitching at 6.63. Caleb Reynolds, though, as a 2.75 ERA. I would be very interested to see what they do with their pitching if they pitch Reynolds game 1 against Mary Hardin Baylor or hold him. I'm a very big believer in pitch your ace game 1 in these 4 game sets because then you can, if you have to, you can bring him back game 5 on the Sunday or Saturday, the last game, to have him pitch. But be interesting what they do. But obviously, ETBU is going to be the favorite here by a long shot in this tournament. So be very shocked if they don't just go 3-0. But at the same time, it's baseball. It's conference tournament.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're Hearn Sims, you have to imagine UMHB is going to throw Alex Hill game
Yeah,
one.
you're definitely expecting Hill game 1. So like they can hit, but you're facing one of the best pitchers in the conference, if not the best pitcher in the conference, with Alex Hill right away. So that will be an interesting one. Top 3 teams. I feel anyone could win it, but It's got to be ETBU's series to lose or tournament to lose.
Yeah, ETBU, I believe, just conference wide is leading in both hitting and pitching
Yep.
for just as a team. They've been very good again this year. Shocker for anyone listening, right? It's times like these I really miss UT Dallas being in this conference because UTD
Yes.
just had such a great presence in these types of events. But
Mhm.
you know, gotta bump up to D2, right?
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe eventually D1. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I mean, they've been, if I remember right, they played stupid last year, but weren't qualified for the NCAA tournament for Division 2. I think they were getting votes for D3 like through halfway through the year. And I'm just like, guys, I know they're 30-5, but like they're a Division 2 team now. Um, so sad to see them go, but I mean, I hope it gets interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's very simple, much simpler format at the
Mhm.
very least. I hate to say, actually, I don't hate to say it because the Collegiate Conference of the South does what the USA South tried to do, right? We're back to the Swiss format, except all the six teams are at the same place. We're not splitting them into two
Yep.
separate pods. So if you don't remember from last year, the Collegiate Conference of the South was the only bid stealing conference last year when Huntingdon went on a crazy losers run to just beat everybody. They started out by losing to Belhaven and then they beat everybody and then beat Belhaven twice to win
Yep.
the entire tournament. It was crazy. The Collegiate Conference of the South is so stacked this year for this conference tournament. I have you take like we can roll a dice and probably just about as accurately predict who's going to win than if I were to just give a prediction right now. Like Piedmont is leading batting wise, Maryville's leading pitching wise, like just as a team stat goes, which is surprising that Belhaven's not leading on either of these. Belhaven has the fifth best like batting average and the third best ERA as a pitching staff, which I found interesting for a team that has been so good this year. It's crazy how stacked everything is. So you have six teams, again, Swiss format. So you're going to be playing teams that are like your record after round one, which means like after three rounds, we could still have five teams in the tournament, which is weird. That shouldn't happen. You're guaranteed to lose one, but you're not guaranteed to lose two. So things can be very chaotic. The NJAC does the same thing, I think,
Yep.
where they do the Swiss format. I don't know who benefits from a format like this out of these teams. I would I always say pitching wins championships, so I would say Maryville has the best chance, but Maryville, if I remember correctly, I'm not quite sure they did too well against either Piedmont or Belhaven. They lost both series. They got swept by Belhaven and they lost to Piedmont.
Yeah.
Belhaven, of course, got swept by Piedmont. That's kind of what put Piedmont on the map
Hmm.
for like just as on a national stage. But Piedmont hasn't been perfect either. They did get swept by Lagrange.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
really, it's like I don't know who's coming out of this.
Yeah. This conference has kind of been just like insane when you're looking at it. Everyone has beat kind of everyone, and sometimes it's been absolute sweeps, like you said, Lagrange, sweeps Piedmont. Like that should not happen in this conference, ideally, but it happened this year. So, I mean, Lagrange could be a nasty sleeper pick to come out of this conference tournament, and people are like, okay, how did this happen? It's like, well, look at their conference format and they just hit people to death. Or you have someone like Belhaven who has hit pretty average and pitched above average, and they just end up doing it. So anything can happen in this conference tournament. That's why we love college baseball. Is anything can happen, and so very excited to see this one unfold.
I think there's way more incentive to pitch your ace immediately in a
Mm-hmm.
format like this, and because you got some ringers here, man. Titus Trebet has kind of been the biggest one, 2.4 ERA. Again, I'm hurt by the 4-3 record he holds. Get this man some run support sometimes, guys. Andrew Miserly, 3.11 ERA. He's a pitcher for Piedmont. And then Gunnar Staton, Bellhaven, ace, 3.37 ERA. And then Drew O'Neill for Piedmont, too, 3.45 ERA. So perhaps it's maybe Piedmont is at a bit of an advantage just because they have two really solid starting pitchers. That could be the case. It's always so difficult to tell when it comes to conferences that are just stacked up and down. It's like the NJAC last year. It's like, who's
Yeah.
going to win? I don't know. Your guess
Yeah.
is as good as mine. If I had to wager a guess, it the championship's in Mississippi. It's in Pearl, Mississippi. So Bellhaven is the closest.
Yep.
Maybe home field advantage will carry them to a win.
Yeah. Maryville might. Yeah. Pitching is going to play a huge role into this. But Piedmont, I'm looking at the hitting side now. The top three hitters in average are all on Piedmont. Obviously, they haven't hit for a ton of pop, but I mean, you got three guys, 427, 422, and 415. That's pretty ridiculous. So, three guys hitting over 400.
And then also shout out to Cody Funk in particular. Well, hitting over 400, also 39 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Again, ridiculous. Another really good hitter. That's also a threat on the base paths.
Yep.
Just crazy. Just crazy. This entire conference has had such a resurgence this year. Piedmont is the one seed in this tournament. It's the first time they've won the regular season title in the CCS, although the CCS hasn't actually existed for baseball for very long. It's only year 4 or 3, I think,
Yeah,
for the Collegiate Conference of the South. We'll see what happens. It's definitely going to be exciting to watch.
Yes.
Everyone should tune into at least one of these games because every matchup is a banger matchup. But speaking of 16 tournaments, we have a new 16 tournament in the SCAC.
I want to talk about this first. I'm chilling one day just thinking, why does it show these two games against McMurray and Austin are canceled and moved to later in the season? It probably won't matter too much come the end of the season. Well, we get to this last week, and I'm looking at the SCAC conference standings, and I'm like, McMurray and Austin have played 2 less games, and if Austin won both of them, they were in, and McMurray was out. So the Roos are not in the tournament, sadly. I know there's some burner accounts out there that are really sad, but TLU took the title for this 1 seed for this conference, so super excited about that. I haven't dug much into how it's set up, but I'm pretty sure if I understood, the 1 and the 2 seed have a buys. The 3-5, the 4-6 play each other or some combination. Winners play the 1 and 2 seed. The losers go to a losers game, and it does double elimination as such. No Swiss, no super fun, crazy, adventurous tournament here. But yeah, I mean, obviously TLU is going to be the favorite to win this, but kind of hot on their tails come the back half of the year was Letourneau. Like, kind of out of nowhere, they graduated Dane the Juice Jones last year, so not a lot of people were super high on them with Patel as well graduating, but man, Letourneau's put together a great year, 23-17, 20-10 in conference. Very interested to see how this shakes out. I mean, Concordia also is a very good team again after graduating everyone. So this will be a very interesting one to watch. You have a lot of teams who are good, some teams who were in regionals last year, a team like TLU who didn't even make their conference tournament last year, who's kind of out for proving they're still TLU that we know. But man, this is going to be a very fun one to watch.
Yeah, I'm also interested in, well, because I'm always interested in the best pitching teams. Concordia has been solid on the mound for the SCAC this year. It's going to be interesting. 6 teams. It makes sense. Conference is way bigger now. There's 11 teams in the conference. Makes sense too. open things up a little more. It's always a question of how much does the buy advantage you? Because I know there's different coaching philosophies on whether it actually is an advantage. I remember talking to the TLU softball coach last year. This softball is always on a 16 format for the SCAC, and he said he told me that he actually didn't like having the buy because he feels like you give the other team coming in way more momentum to play you. They're coming off a
Yep.
win. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't know how much it'll matter. The SCAC has been pretty competitive this year, though. TLU will get the winner of Concordia Centenary, and Laterna will get the winner of McMurray Hendricks.
Yep.
I think I have to agree with the TLU pick. TLU's just been the most consistent,
Hmm.
and they did beat Concordia in the series. I
Yep.
feel like if Concordia also, I think they got swept by Laterna. They at least
Yeah.
didn't win the series.
It was like a very dramatic event where it's like, oh, that happened. Oh, wait, Latorno just came out of nowhere and stole the second seed in the last 2 weeks. How did that happen? But yeah, I'm kind of like looking at it like just hitting wise. Sorry, I'm gonna say I don't love the SCAC website for stats and all that. It's probably the worst out of all the conferences covered. But I mean, you got PV. He's hitting 447 on the year. I mean, dude has been an animal. And then, but with him, you got Caleb Small hitting 385 and Sprinkle hitting 372 as well. Like they have the offense. The pitching has been the part where they're not the greatest at. I'd have to look at their team ERA, but I want to say it's in the fives, maybe sixes overall. And obviously, if you're winning your conference tournament, you want that to be a little bit lower than that. Yeah, the 5.28, but offensively, they're hitting 334 as a team. So it's obviously they're going to have shootout games, but I mean, man, it'll be interesting. Hendricks has been a team that's been hot and cold, so they could catch some fire towards the end. McMurray, everyone thought including myself, that they were going to be a little bit better than they have been. So I don't know. This is going to be a fun one. You got three teams who obviously TL is the flavor, but Latornio and Concordia easily could win this, and sneaky Hendricks is definitely for sure. Even though they're going to be the sixth seed, do not sleep on them. They've had their moments this year.
Yeah, I think if you just look at what the standings look like for baseball for the SCAC, it kind of just paints the entire story. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, TLU and Laterno are near the top, but TLU was just one loss away from having 10 losses. Laterno
Yep.
does have 10 losses in conference. It's incredibly competitive. I don't
Yep.
think there's not like a super overwhelming favorite to come out of this. But yeah, I love watching SCAC baseball. Okay, let's go over the big one. It's the ODAC, 8 teams. It's a big tournament, 2 weekend tournament. So weekend one is a best of 3 series. It's a super regional into a regional the next week, essentially. The teams that have made the tournament are Lynchburg, Shenandoah, Randolph-Macon, Bridgewater, Washington and Lee, Virginia Wesleyan, Hampton-Sydney, and Roanoke. Those are your 8 ODAC tournament teams, which means your matchups. I'm going by the ODAC website. They don't have this officially posted, so I'm just going off the standings because I don't know. Virginia Wesleyan and Hampton-Sydney are tied at 10 and 10, so I don't know how the tiebreaker works there because they split their regular season series. I'm sure they go records against top, and then you keep going down until you find a distinction. But I'll just assume it's right for now. So it'll be Roanoke at Lynchburg, Hampton-Sydney at Shenandoah, Virginia Wesleyan at Randolph-Macon, and Washington and Lee at Bridgewater. I believe the regionals, like that final 4-team regional site, is a neutral site that they get, but I don't quite remember. But still, all these games are going to be good because the ODAC, like the Collegiate Conference of the South, has been, other than Lynchburg just kind of dominating everybody, it's been pretty. There's been a lot of parity this year for the ODAC.
Yeah, I mean, this would be an interesting one. Like, for example, Roanoke. sleeper pick, honestly. I mean, they took two from Bridgewater, and they also swept Shenandoah. But when you look who they're playing against, the with Lynchburg, they lost 10-0 and 18-1. So that being said, Roanoke could be a very sleeper to be the 8th seed and win, but also you're looking they have to win a 3-game set versus Lynchburg.
Yeah, that's a tough draw, man. Anyone against Lynchburg is a tough draw, but especially
Yep.
for Roanoke. Roanoke has also just generally struggled on the road in the ODAC
Yep.
this season. That sweep over Shenandoah was pretty surprising because it was both against one of these top tier teams and on the road, the double
Yep.
whammy. But anything can happen in this kind of format. But Lynchburg definitely has the experience. They've been in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how many times in a row, but
Yeah.
it's it's definitely a Lynchburg favored tournament. Shenandoah, their series, they get Hampton-Sydney. Hampton-Sydney, honestly, they've like pushed every top team to the brink this year.
Mm-hmm.
They've been one of those teams that's like we're so close to winning, but we just haven't quite won. They got
Yep.
swept by Shenandoah. Game one was 25-6. It was not pretty. But game two was 10-8. Like that's a decently close game. And it was a 10-8 where Hampton-Sydney, it was 7-7 and then 8-8 after six. And then Shenandoah just tacked on two more runs in the seventh and eighth. So that could be interesting if Hampton-Sydney can figure things out. Hampton-Sydney's not a bad squad by any means necessary. Randolph-Macon, Virginia Wesleyan. Randolph-Macon has been the team that's like you're so close for me to like say this is like a top 25 team, but there's always that
Yep.
one weird loss that you go,
Yep.
huh? It's like, yeah, we did really good. We swept Roanoke, but we also lost to Coast Guard. Like,
Yep.
huh? It's always those weird one-off losses that just kind of make you just question things a little bit. Now, this
Yeah.
series against Virginia Wesleyan was they were ODAC midweeks, so they won one of them 13-3, and they lost the other one 4-7. But they get to host a proper series now, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Looking at this, I have no idea how Virginia Wesleyan is in this tournament. I am looking, they are 11th in the ODAC in average with a 265 average. Okay. They're the worst team hitting wise in the ODAC. But let's look at the pitching side, and they're ninth with a 7.41 ERA. Just how? Just how are you in this tournament and ahead of Roanoke, who has beat Shenandoah and Bridgewater twice? Like, you're the 6th seed and you have the worst average and the third worst pitching staff in the conference. Madness.
Yeah. Oh, it is madness. And such a big conference, winning against the bottom of the conference is very important because
Yes.
you can't just take those games for granted. Also, because they're double headers. You're going to get a weird team in there like Virginia Wesleyan every now and then. That's just like, man, statistics wise, they're not all that impressive. But if you find a way to win games, you find
Yep.
a way to win games.
Yeah, I was earlier today I recorded with Eric and Wyatt, and I had talked to them about two teams in the Sky, Redlands and Callaloo. Two different sides of the ball. Redlands has beat everyone on the bottom half of the Sky, and Callaloo has struggled to win every game that they're supposed to against the bottom half of the Sky. And it's made it so like Callaloo might not even make their conference tournament. And like you said, Reed, that is why winning against the bottom teams in your conference is so important because you get a team like Virginia Wesleyan who probably just won the games they were supposed to and got blown out on the games they weren't supposed to win. And that's why their ERA is through the floor. But I mean, it'll make for some interesting matchups. Yeah, there's a obviously Lynchburg is by far the favorite, but Bridgewater, I mean, they're second in batting average, but second in ERA in this conference. So they definitely could make some noise. I mean, honestly, the top four are really good teams, and we'll see a lot of them this year.
on that last matchup, Bridgewater and WNL. WNL was the team that just like we took a game. We took one game off of every top team in this
Mm-hmm.
conference, except for Lynchburg. We tied. They tied
Yep, we
against
tied again.
Lynchburg. Love ties in baseball. Doesn't
Yeah,
make
makes
me
no
just
sense.
yeah. So we'll see how they do in a proper 3 game series. I would,
Yeah,
it's Lynchburg until it isn't, right? It's
yeah.
just
I've always wondered, looking at, obviously Lynchburg's won a natty in the last 5 years, and so I've always wanted to look at conferences that only play 2 game series and see how those conferences do in regional, super regional, and college world series. Because you look at it, if you only play 2 games in a weekend, you can just have two aces that just run guys, right? And you look at like a conference like the ASC or maybe the WIAC where they play 4 games in a weekend. It makes it very much a different story of like having pitching. So I'd be very interested to see how these are looking at what conferences play too. Like I know the Centennial plays too, and John Hopkins has always came up short, and so be very interested to see if how many times the winner comes from a team that the conference plays 3 or 4 series sets rather than just two.
yeah, that is an interesting point because at what you want out of the super regional is for it to just be 2 games, right?
Yep.
This that could just be a doubleheader, but usually super regionals you play game one and then you do doubleheader the next
Yep.
day. At least in D3, the way D1 does it slips my mind. I think they do it 1 game per
Yeah.
day.
And I can't remember if some do it 1, 1, and 1. It might be two, then one. I have to double check that, but
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Every game matters, especially against the bottom of your conference, because not
yep.
only does it matter to make your conference tournament, it matters for your NPI, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Lose a game to a 264 NPI team, and even if you beat a pretty good, decent team that week in a series, you're gonna drop most likely an NPI.
Yeah.
Now we get to go to our favorite conference, Will, North Atlantic Conference. Oh, it is Region 10, Region 6, and then the North Atlantic Conference for us. So I would say I watched a couple of broadcasts from this conference. So I watched Cobleskill. They didn't have a commentator, but they did have 4 students who were sitting next to the camera, just talking away. Shout out to those 4 students. I was totally eavesdropping on you because it was absolutely hilarious what they were talking about. Unknowingly, I would assume, because
Oh yeah. They have no idea.
that was hilarious. I saw Hassan's stream. Hassan's stream is really nice. Hassan's field looks
Really?
really nice. Like, look up a picture of Hassan's facilities. It's like that. I was I knew Husson was a pretty high quality program in general for athletic facilities. I was surprised for how nice their field looked.
Is it the all turf one?
Yes.
Okay, that's sick. On
Yeah,
the
it's
football
like
field.
on their football field. I was like, wow, their stream looked great. They had really pretty solid announcers. Yeah, that was a great stream. I watched, who was it? I think it was UMaine Presque Isle. They had their score bug was a knockoff of the Fox Sports score bug.
Oh, I love
It
that.
was a pretty decent knockoff too. It's like obviously they didn't just rip it completely, but it's like you know where it came
Yeah.
from. They were imitating it. It was everything was interesting for this. Hudson is in the lead right now. I know a lot of them played 2 games today. The way the NAC does it is it's 4 game series like the ASC,
Hmm.
but they don't have 4 teams in their conference. They have 7 teams. They do
Yeah.
2 doubleheaders back to back days. That's brutal, by the way. I can't
Yeah.
imagine playing back to back doubleheaders.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Makes it definitely makes it interesting. I mean, I'm looking at this as well. I'm interested how Husson has the tiebreakers because Husson and Cobleskill went 2-2. They split. Um, I'm sure it's probably whoever is at Vermont State who's a
Linden, the TSU Linden, whoever's got the better
yeah,
record against them, and then Thomas and Leslie go on.
yeah. Are they now over with play and have their conference tournament this weekend?
No, I think they have one more week
Okay.
of conference games, and then they'll play their conference tournament.
Okay,
I
yeah.
assume hosted by the highest ranked team. I would assume so. I, this conference is completely captured me now after you pointed
Yeah.
out where they actually stood. Again, still, this is another week where none of these teams have a winning record. The closest we've got is Husson is 15-16 and Cobleskill is 15-16. Maybe
Yep.
they'll be 16-16 after this recording is done. I love conferences like this. They're always so interesting. It's such a different world when it comes to different conferences. Like they're off
Yeah.
on their own playing their brand of baseball.
I'm
It's
lo-
beautiful.
I'm looking at it. Four teams make it, top four, and then whoever wins the conference hosts is what it's kind of looking like. But yeah, man, I would love to see a below 300 NPI team in the conference tournament or NCAA tournament and just game one beat whoever they're playing, whether they're thrown in the Denison one and just NPI 320 beats NPI 3, right? Like, I would love to see that happen. If you don't, you probably play on a top five team in the country, or you're not done playing still. So I'd love to see number 300 and something NPI win a region.
I love that too. Just as a small bit of bias, I hope Husson ends up hosting this conference tournament because their stream was by far the best. So I'd like a high quality stream to view that conference tournament. No offense to Cobleskill or Presque Isle or any of them, but Hudson that was completely different. That was that was a solid stream. They are the Trinity broadcast of
Yep.
the North Atlantic Conference.
I love that. Reed, on our itinerary, I put a few games from greatness, why every game matters. And I had done the math for a team named Whitworth in the NWC, a conference that usually only gets one team to the tournament, whoever wins their conference tournament. Well, Whitworth, if they did not lose their their four bad losses to Whittier, PLU, and two to Willamette, they would be NPI 12 coming into this week. I mathed it out. They'd have like a 59.5 NPI, which would put them at 12. That's why every game matters when it comes down to NPI. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because that is the difference between you being the one seed in a regional versus they're probably going to be the 3 or 4 seed or whoever wins the NWC slash. If they were the 12 seed at this point, they're probably getting in at a at large bid rather than, oh crap, now we have to win our tournament, even though we went 20-4 in conference, right? So that was kind of just my note of like every game matters with MPI. Don't lose to really bad teams, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, that loss to Willamette, that's pretty brutal.
Well, it was 2 losses. It was Willamette's opening. They have a new field, and they just so happened to play them on when they got their new field. And if you don't know, my Willamette Bearcats have had a very tough season, and they took 2 of 3 from Whitworth. But yeah, they kind of spoiled Whitworth's season a little bit there.
Yeah, it's what we say about MPI all the time. It's just the most important thing you can do in MPI is win.
Yep, just win.
Easier said than done. Yeah, I'm looking at the Whitworth's little NPI table.
Yep.
You can definitely stomach a loss to a team like Pacific Lutheran. You can't stomach a series loss to Willamette.
Yep.
That's brutal. I imagine that's the main majority weight keeping Whitworth
Yeah.
down if they win those games.
Yeah. It's by far their worst loss is that Willamette. Those two losses to them there.
It's
They'd go from
brutal,
57 to 12.
man. It's just crazy. That's crazy. I think also what we're going to see, the new NPI has not released as we're recording this. It probably won't
Yep.
release until tomorrow because we got a lot of late games today. I think we're going to see more solidly 3 deck teams in the
Yeah.
top 8 because Shenandoah won a game against Lynchburg,
Yep.
which I think was kind of required. If they get swept, I don't think they'd be in the top 8. They might not still be, but who knows? It's kind of hard to tell when top
Yeah.
teams are beating each other. It's hard to
Yeah.
tell if they'll both rise or both fall.
Yeah. And Wittenberg lost 2 to Denison. Kalamazoo went 0-3 versus Alma today or this
Oof.
weekend. But side note, Alma won the series against Adrian. So Alma's MPI might just shoot through the roof now, and you have 3 MIAA teams all within the top 16. Um, Little side tangent, but yeah, they have good chance to stay up there.
Going over the teams that we said last week were sleeper picks to make a jump in NPI. I had singled out Huntingdon for that. They looked good in their opening game against Piedmont. They won that game, but they ended up dropping the series to the Lions. So it looks like they're either the Lions or the Monarchs. I can't remember for Piedmont what their mascot is, but it is looking now more solidly like conference tournament championship or bust for Huntingdon. I know you signaled
I
out both Kowloon and Pomona, whoever won that series.
Yep, and Pomona ended up winning that series. And I had talked about this earlier today. Is Kalamazoo's in danger? They might not even make the conference tournament. They are on the brink of not making it. They play Claremont-Mudd-Scripps. The number one team is their last series, and the team that they are competing with is Chapman, and Chapman plays Caltech. So that might be a tough one to swallow for Kowloon of not even making their conference tournament this year. Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
thinking, looking at that, I mean, Pomona is going to jump a little bit because Kowloon's still decently high in NPI, but man, tough. The other team I talked about is Worcester out of the NCAC. Um, I was like, if they could win one game against Denison the day we recorded, they got blown out 20-4 and like 13-4, respectively, in that. But the one bright side for Worcester still, you're going to have Denison and Wittenberg very high up in the MPI ranking. So if you can find a way to go 2-2 and all 4 games end up against those 2 teams, that might bode very well for them. But as of now, they'll probably drop a little bit.
All right, well, I've got a challenge for you. I'm totally ripping a segment from the D3 football podcast that they call On the Spot, where
Okay.
basically they challenge each other for a given weekend's games or set of games on various topics. You're going to get very fast what the gimmick here is.
Yeah.
So for this week, I'm calling this week's game Bombs Away. So
Okay.
last year in the ASC tournament, discounting the one play-in game between the 4 and 5 seed, there were 16 home runs hit throughout the tournament. I just want to ask you, Will, are you taking the over or under for this year's tournament?
Give me the over. It seems like the wind has been blowing out in Marshall, and Connor Massimini is very pissed that I made a comment about it. So he's hitting 5 himself. But honestly, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of home runs in that tournament, especially, yeah, just looking at it between ETBU, yeah, I think there's going to be more. There's going to be at least 17 bombs.
And as a double-pronged bonus question, which team in the tournament will contribute the most to that total?
Um, ETBU, because Connor Massimini is going to hit 5 because he's pissed at me right now.
Just as a reference last year, so I cut out the opening game between Harden Simmons and Howard
Yeah.
Payne. I think that added like 3 home runs, but I didn't want to count that because that's
Yep.
one additional game. Last year, Letourneau won the home run battle between the 4 teams that were in there with 7. They had
Dane the
seven
Juice
bombs.
Jones.
Exactly. So we'll just note this down for the record that Will has taken the over. There will be
Yep.
over 16 home runs hit at the AFC tournament this weekend.
With a bonus side bet that Massimini has 5.
Wow. We got so ETB is contributing the most, Massimini's getting 5, and over 16 home runs. I think that's
Yep.
a solid prediction. Of
Parlay
course,
it.
the infamous short porch out
Yep.
in left field where many home runs have been hit over
Many
the years.
try, but few roll over the many try and many roll over the ball as well there.
All right, Will. So another part of on the spot is that they challenge each other. So if you have a challenge for me off the top of your head, I'm putting you on the spot for on the spot.
Let's go to a conference in Region 6 that does not have their tournament. Let's go SAA. Who ends up one winning the regular season title with one weekend to go, and then let's go. What team has the most strikeouts, K's the most batters in the SAA tournament in 2 weekends?
Oof, that's a good one. So for who's going to win it right now at the top of the conference, it's Trinity and Rhodes. For
Mm-hmm.
viewers at home that might not be aware, they're 13-5. Rhodes gets Barry in Memphis, and Trinity travels to Center. I would say, I'm trying to remember. I think Center actually won the series against Barry, so Trinity might have the slightly tougher job ahead of them because if Rhodes sweeps, they win. They
Yep.
need Rhodes to lose one of these games to Barry, which could definitely happen.
Yeah.
Barry's a good team, and Barry got swept by Trinity, so you would have to assume by the what was it called when one team beats another transactional property that Rhodes would also have a good chance.
Yep.
I feel more confident about Rhodes taking the SAA than I do Trinity. Trinity has just been too inconsistent,
Mm-hmm.
like pitching and offensively, for me to feel confident about a Center sweep, especially on the road.
Yeah.
That Barry sweep did come on the road. It's just Trinity has not looked like the Trinity of last year, and
Yeah.
Rhodes has been a bit more consistent. Now, for a team that will strike out the most batters this weekend, oh, I'm just gonna quickly see who's been doing the best in that category in general. So, Center's been doing the best in that category, and actually Trinity has been doing the best, which isn't too unsurprising. Trinity's got a lot
Yep.
of breaking ball guys that have been doing really good this year against a team like Center. Center also has a tendency to strike out quite a bit. I think they're as a team they've struck out over 200 times.
204, but you won't. I'm looking at it right now. Southwestern 297, they're on the bottom conference. Trinity has K'd 281 times, and Millsap's 272, Rhodes 235, Sweeney 216. Center has K'd the second least amount in the conference at 204. But pitching wise,
I'm looking at the
Trinity's
matchups.
K'd the most, and Center's K'd the second most.
So in addition to Barry Rhodes and Trinity Center, you have Southwestern Millsaps. So those are the two bottom batting teams in the conference and both bottom pitching teams in the conference playing each other. That could have some potential, but I don't. It's hard to say when it's against teams that are sharing the cellar and how the
Hmm.
pitching is going to go because it could either be we're hitting a ton of home runs or we're going to strike out a lot. But usually it's we're hitting a lot of balls. The other is Sewanee Oglethorpe, who again very similar teams batting and pitching. They're right next to each other. They're neighbors
Yeah.
essentially. But the pitching staff, they haven't struck out a lot and they haven't been striking people out a lot either. So I feel like I have to go either. Oh, I feel like it's either going to be center or Trinity striking out the most batters. Barry, because Barry hasn't struck out a lot actually.
No.
Barry
Yeah.
is the least strikeoutable team in this
Hmm.
conference. I'm going to say that Trinity will strike out the most batters this week
Yeah.
against center. For the record, my predictions for this week's heads up predictions is Rhodes will win the SAA and
Hmm.
Trinity as a pitching staff will have struck out the most batters this week.
Yep.
And we are only going to count SAA games because I
Yep.
did not bother to check whether somebody's playing a non-conference
Yeah.
midweek.
This counts only for conference games. But yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, ETB. Watch there be like only 3 bombs in Marshall this weekend.
The wind's blowing
Um,
in.
yeah, that'd be hilarious.
I'm not surprised you took the. Maybe I am a little because like Paterno not being in there,
Mhm.
they were such a big home
Yeah,
run squad last year. And it's gonna be it'll be interesting. I
yeah.
will.
The reason I took that is in the Mary Hardin Baylor and ETBU series. In the first 2 games, I'm pretty sure there was 12 or 13 bombs hit in 2 games. So I'm really just hoping it has that effect and like it could be a lot or it could be almost none. Sayers Collins is probably just going to come out on the mound, pitch for every team, and only give up 3 runs in total on the weekend. So that could happen. Who knows? Wind's blowing in on.
Well, I think that's all we have for this episode. Unless you
Yeah,
have any more topics you think are important.
I think that's really it. Obviously, just win your conference tournament if you're listening to this. That is the best way to get into the NCAA tournament. Is if you have an auto bid, win your conference tournament, and you receive a free trip to the NCAA tournament.
Who knows? For some of these conferences, you get a all expenses paid flight to
Yeah,
wherever you go.
if you are from the NWC, you are flying either to California or Texas.
Oh man. Yep. It really is as simple as that, folks. Just go out
Yep.
and win. Good luck to everybody playing this week, especially for those conference tournament teams that are hoping to make some noise. Man, we're getting close to the NCAA tournament time, close to selection Sunday or Monday or
Yeah.
whenever the selection show is. Yeah, at this point for conference tournament season, it's that and just don't get eliminated, right?
Yep. Just win.
We'll see everybody here next time for conference tournament part two, where we'll have the winners. Hopefully, we'll have the winners of all these tournaments we talked about, other than the ODEC, because that's two
Yep.
weeks, and the USA South. Hopefully, no weather shenanigans come into
Yes.
play again. But who knows? This has been a pretty bad year for weather in general,
Yep.
it seems.
Yep. A lot of teams missing some games, but yeah, it's been a pleasure as always. We'll have some fun next weekend. Following weekend, we'll do some predictions on where we think the regionals will be hosted and who's who. Hopefully, we can make some cool graphs and put them up on the screen for people as well.
The production will go way up next
Yeah,
time.
way up.
I'll make a slideshow instead of a still image for the
Yes,
video.
slideshows.
All right. See you next time, everybody.